biggest record store I've ever been to. Hello! So recently I went to California for VidCon, and because we had gone all the way out there, Sangeeta and I decided to spend a few days after the convention in Santa Monica. And when we did that, we were finally able to fulfill a dream of mine to visit Amoeba Music in Hollywood, which is a humongous record store. I'd heard about it, I'd never been before, so I was really curious about what it would be like and what sort of atmosphere there would be, I guess. So I went and I thought I would share my experience and my haul with you guys today. Sangeeta actually filmed some footage of me record shopping as well, so I have some of that to give you guys more of a feel for what the adventure was actually like on the day. So we set off in the baking June heat for Sunset and Vine. And then we saw it across the street, looming over us like some magical musical castle. Needless to say, we were pretty excited. You excited? Yes. It's the biggest record store I've ever been to. And once we were inside, it didn't feel any smaller. Honestly, I found it completely overwhelming, and I'm not really someone who gets overwhelmed that easily. Compared to the record stores in Europe and New York that I'm used to visiting, this was massive. It was even bigger than the record markets I'm used to going to in London. Just this great expanse of music and merchandise stretching out in every direction. Don't get me wrong, it was so much fun browsing through everything. A bit of Madonna, a bit of New York Dolls, a little bit of Jesus and Mary chain. We stumbled across the 78th section and I was immediately obsessed. And of course my inner hipster couldn't resist the cassette section. I was genuinely amazed as well that Amoeba apparently has a VHS section. I didn't know that people still bought VHSs or used them, but I mean, I can't. Huh? Why? Do you? Is this a thing? So, would you like to see what I bought? Before I start digging into my haul, I just wanted to make a quick point that because of the logistics of actually getting the records home with me, I had to only get a few. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have too many to take on in my hand luggage, because I didn't really want them being kicked around, I guess. I know people are quite nice with your luggage, but even going down onto that conveyor belt luggage collection, I feel like that could damage some records. So because I knew I had this long flight coming up, I only got a few. And I also bought an Amoeba tote bag, which is awesome and is just the right size for records. And I also knew that I would be able to take it on the plane with me. So usually when I travel on a plane, I have my backpack, and then I don't usually have another bag, even though technically you can have two. So I just figured I would take this as my second piece of hand luggage, and that's what I did. So they had these bags in a few different colors. I chose the black because I'm unimaginative and I wanted it to go with everything. Black's always cool, just in case you didn't know that. I feel like everyone knows that, but black goes with literally everything. The first thing I got was this Billie Holiday Sings the Blues. I love Billie Holiday. A Billie Holiday greatest hits from the 70s, I believe, was one of the first secondhand records I ever bought. And this, I believe, is also from the 70s. I like that Billie Holiday records usually have someone's sort of personal note about her history. I read quite a few of her biographies and I'm really fascinated by her story. This is a Pickwick Records with Everest Records version. One of the reasons why I always buy Billie Holiday compilations and stuff, even if I might have a couple of the songs on different albums, is because Billie didn't really release albums. She has a lot of different recordings of her work, and because of the way that she sang, it was so emotional, and her syncopation, every single recording sounds different. So you kind of can hear the same song over and over in like 50 different versions and it's never the same. So that's why I really like it, and I'd never seen this version before, so I thought I would get it. The next thing I got was Wild Heart, which is Stevie Nicks' second album. This is in pretty good condition actually, the sleeve, considering that it was quite cheap. And if you've seen some of my other haul videos, you'll know that I really love Stevie Nicks as well. I always liked her music, but I particularly got into some of her stuff from watching American Horror Story Coven, which I think a lot of people did. She's just fantastic. And this album's really good. There aren't really many hits from this album. I think it has like Nightbird and I Will Run to You with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. But apart from that, a lot of the things are like more just like very much her style, but not necessarily singles. So I was really excited to find this, especially because she's an American artist. So it's like I was looking for American artists in America. The next things I got, I've never seen before, and I saw them and I was like, wow, this is really incredible. So in Amoeba, as I said, it's huge. There are different things in every direction, and there was this one section where it's like a few counters and there were all these 7-inch boxes, and they all had like really specific but very different genre titles, like things like emo and like 90s punk, and one of them said Disney and it had a big picture of the Disney castle. So I was like, wow, I've just been right by Disneyland, I kind of really want to see what's in that box. And I found these things. I got Sleeping Beauty, Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree, and Robin Hood. And they're basically 7-inch records which you play at 33 1/3, and they come with a read-along book, and then it tells you when to turn the page, and so it tells you the story of the Disney-fied version of that story, and you kind of read along with a little book, and it's got some songs from the films as well.
Little Merryweather was about to give her gift when suddenly there was a roar of thunder.
It's basically one of those like read-along children's books, but in 7-inch like vinyl record form, which I just thought was very cool. And again, I've never ever seen these in England, and because I was in California, I was right by where these things were made. I was like, this is the time to get these, and they look pretty cheap as well. Obviously, because it's a 7-inch being played at 33 1/3, it's a like not as very good audio quality. That's sort of because it doesn't really matter, because what you're listening to is someone read the story in like that old Hollywood voice. So it was really fun to like listen through to these. I've only listened to Sleeping Beauty so far, but it was really fun. I just really enjoyed these. If you've heard of these, or if you've ever had these, or know anything about them, if you could let me know, like literally anything about these that you know in the comments. I just find them fascinating. And I'd love to know more about like what exactly these are, when they were made, why they were made, who used to buy them. They seem very cool. So that's everything that I got from Amoeba, but I did also get one record in Disneyland, and this was in downtown Disney in one of the Disney stores. I found it just randomly by the Alice in Wonderland display, because they had that new Alice in Wonderland, like Alice Through the Looking Glass live action film out. And so it is this Magic Mirror Alice in Wonderland record, and this is different from those storybooks. So it does come with a storybook inside, but first of all it's on a 12-inch record, and then it introduces itself as being told from the perspective of Alice, and then it plays through some of the songs from the film. So it's kind of a soundtrack album, but it's also narrated. You open it up and then you've got like a lovely, beautifully illustrated picture book in here with stills from the film and then illustrations. It's just a really beautiful little thing. Lovely little artifact there. So that's what kind of got me in that Disney mood. And I was thinking, you know, I'm in California, I'm right by Disney. This is the time to buy Disney records. So now that you've seen what I actually got from Amoeba, I thought it might be a good time to go through some overall thoughts and feelings about my general experience. So first of all, Amoeba music was a lot bigger than I originally thought it would be. I thought it would be big, don't get me wrong, I know that everything's bigger in America, but it was huge. It was so big I couldn't even comprehend like where I was or what was going on. It was like walking into Amazon or like Discogs or something. Just CDs and tapes and vinyl everywhere. It was just huge. So that was, as I said, a bit overwhelming. So it was kind of overwhelming, but it was also quite cool to think of, this is how big a music shop can be. Despite the size though, there weren't as many secondhand or like niche records as I thought there would be. There were a lot of reissues, there were a lot of new records, there were a lot of things that I could get my hands on in England basically, and not much that was sort of location specific. Obviously because I was traveling, I was looking for those things that were more specific to California. So I was looking for secondhand records that might be difficult to get in the UK. I was looking for local bands. That just wasn't something that Amoeba seemed to be selling. Like obviously I did find some things and I'm really happy with the records that I bought from there, but those records were like really the minority of records in the shop. It was much more focused on new releases and reissues. So it was like, I don't know if you saw it in some of the footage, I was like, oh, there's a whole section on the New York Dolls, I'll go have a look. But then like most of it was New York Dolls reissues, which I could get in the UK, as opposed to records that I could not find anywhere outside of the US. That said, I can see that it must be fantastic if you're local, because you can just go there and find any new release. It must be amazing. Like you don't need to use Amazon, you don't need to worry about buying things online so much, you can just go there and they'll have it. And I also thought it must be so good on record store day, because if any shop merits getting the lion's share of all the records on record store day, it has to be Amoeba. I believe there are like massive queues outside there on record store day, but if you are local or just anywhere in Southern California, that's probably the one to go to. Another weird thing about it, we did have to check our bags at the door, and that was quite strange to me. I don't know if this might be an LA thing, because we also had to do it at the last bookstore, but we had to like hand over our bags, take out any valuables, and then we got like a tag related to the bags. And I assume that it's done for security reasons, and I completely respect that there must have been incidents where they feel like they really need to do this to their customers. But on the other hand, I reserve the right to personally feel annoyed that I have to awkwardly go around carrying all of my belongings, like my camera and my phone and my wallet, and then also be like trying to browse through vinyl. It's annoying, right? Like I know that there are probably reasons for it, but as someone who doesn't steal, it's annoying. I mean, it wasn't until I managed to finally find a shopping basket that I was able to really browse the vinyl, because you can't really if you're worrying about like your precious belongings being in your hand at the same time. And maybe this is more specific to girls who tend to carry bags, or to tourists who tend to carry bags, but I just felt as annoying. I do understand, before anyone worries about this, like I do understand that it is probably for security reasons. There have probably been terrible cases of theft, but just coming from a lot of record stores are obviously a lot smaller, so they can keep an eye on you while you're in there. It's just weird. Also, they didn't seem to do the thing that a lot of record stores do in England, which is that they have the record sleeves out, but then not the record itself. You pick up the sleeve and they have them all behind the counter anyway, which to me is like a better system for it if you're that worried about theft, because then obviously they can count out exactly how many copies of things they're giving out and not worry about people like hiding them in their shoes or something. I don't know. I think that this was primarily my own fault for not doing my research, but I do wish that I had gone to some more local LA record stores that were smaller and maybe more focused on secondhand vinyl, because that's what I was looking for, and I just assumed that the biggest shop in the area would have a lot of secondhand vinyl, but it didn't. I suppose it was more like what Rough Trade is like, except for Rough Trade seems to have more indie labels, or more like spotlight on indie bands. I think if I went again, I would like to also check out some smaller local record stores that might be like spread further apart and more difficult to get to, but in the end have quite a few gems. Overall, I'm really glad that I went. Aside from the few quirks of going there, it was really fun, and the records I got there, I don't think I would have got those Disney ones anywhere else. I would highly, highly recommend it if you're in the area, just for the experience of seeing that so many other people are into vinyl and that you can get so much on vinyl. Just the sheer breadth of what you can buy on vinyl is amazing. You can buy soundtracks, you can buy spoken word, you can buy all kinds of stuff. There are sections that I didn't even go to because it was so big. I think you could find pretty much anything there, but it will probably be new, or it will probably be a reissue. If your heart is set on secondhand vinyl, I don't know that it's like the first place you would go to. Although that being said, obviously I found stuff, and because it's so big, you might just still find something. Also, for the random oddities, like those 78s, the cassette wall, the VHS tapes. I think it was amazing. So yeah, if you are in the area, do visit Amoeba Music. If you also make a video about your experience, or you write a blog, or you make an Instagram post or anything, I'd really love to see it, because I'm always curious about how other people do record shopping, what other people look for, what people like want to look for, and like what people think of other shops. I really enjoyed making this video. The whole experience of going to the store and like kind of taking you guys with us and then bringing that experience into a video format is really interesting to me. And I really hope it was useful. You know, if you haven't been to Amoeba Music and maybe you wanted to know a bit more about what it looks like, I hope it helped. I'd love to make more videos like this. If you do have any requests, I'm based in London, so I can get to pretty much anywhere in London quite easily, and then sort of anywhere UK based vaguely easily. Please do let me know if there's a specific store that you'd like me to go to and maybe do a little similar review or haul. Or if you own a record store and you'd like me to visit, I would love to and have a chat with you about the records that you sell and like why you started your store. That'd be so interesting. Please do let me know. So if you'd like to comment on any of the many questions I've raised in this video, please do comment down below. You can also tweet at me at chatty_wahwah. And if you're not already and you quite like this video and the kinds of things I'm doing on this channel, then please don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe right here, or you can also subscribe by clicking on the button below. If you want to keep up with me on like a day-to-day basis, I do post a lot more regularly on Instagram. So I posted things while I was traveling in California. I usually post like the records that I'm playing at the moment, just like a lot of like daily stuff if you're interested. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye! It's called YouTube Girls, and it's part of an awesome movement called FemTube.